Throughout history, the pen has been a tool for the artist, the politician, the author, and most importantly, the dreamer. The ink within is the lifeblood of illustrations, the written word, and mathematical equations, allowing those who would understand a glimpse into worlds other than their own. What worlds will you create while playing with ink? Hi, I'm Plutarch.
And I'm Narwin.
And I'm Zied, founder of ViViD.
And welcome to Playing with Ink.
Woo!
Yay, we did it on the first try. Okay, that's kind of rare. Okay, so welcome to Playing with Ink. If you're new to this podcast, this is a podcast all about world building and creativity and crafting things far beyond our imagination. Today we have Zied, the founder of ViViD, obviously. So if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself and say just quick introduction, where can people find you? And we'll do it at the end as well, and I'll put links and everything in the YouTube and Spotify description so people can find you easier. But just really quick, introduce yourself. Go.
Okay, so I'm Zied. I'm the founder originally and now co-founder of ViViD. You can find us at vvd.world or on Instagram at VVD Worldbuilding or anywhere really, Discord, etc. And yeah, that's us.
Okay, well, I'm going to start with a question we ask all of our guests, and we talked about it in our first episode, and this is the question that we kind of frame our whole podcast around. What do you think world building means, and how does it affect you while you're exploring, writing, or playing in a world? Or for you, building tools for a world, specifically, if we're talking specifically about ViViD.
I'm going to go a little bit deep right away, right? Because
Excellent.
I've been doing... I think world building to me and is a lot about living many lives, as weird as that sounds. And I find that there's this appetite to live and experience new lives and try new things. And world building has just kind of always served that purpose. I feel like whether it's through reading or movies or games, it's as if when a world is so well done or built around this experience, it really feels like you've lived another life for a few moments. And so that's kind of, I think that's the most important piece for me for world building, and that's kind of how I got into it and stuff like that. And yeah, that's a big part.
So then I'm gonna branch off that and say, is it more escapism or immersion that you think is the part? Is it and there's my dog. And is it more of I want to go to that world, or that world being introduced to you in a certain way?
I think it's imagining what would be the outcomes of all these experiences you never really experienced. And we can feel that I feel like in our day-to-day in real life, I'd say, but it's even more inspiring when it's a place you could never have been, or a fantasy world or something like that. It is I guess it's not necessarily escapism as much as curiosity as to what it could be. I've been digging deeper into this, but I feel like it has a lot to do with commitment, and every time as you grow older, I'm hitting 30, so it's you're closing doors that you will never go through again, and I feel like world building and experiences and the stories we tell are almost moments of other lives that we can experience. So I know that got pretty deep, but it is it's something that's been top of mind.
Podcast.
It reminded me I'm 36. Thanks.
Yeah.
So speaking of immersion and just world building in general, usually I then ask people what world they have created. But since you're the founder of ViViD, we could talk about ViViD. And I just want to quickly ask you, instead of a world, you have created a tool for building worlds. in very general terms, what is ViViD and why have you created it?
Yeah, I'd say today Vivid is known as a world building tool. So where you kind of organize your characters, your places, but that's never really the intention of it. I think when I sought out to build Vivid is because I think just like a lot of our audience today, I was someone that was like imagining all these different types of stories. My background is in video games. I worked at Ubisoft for a bit. I worked at Unity for about 3.5 years. I've been making video games for a very long time. And the games that really, that really stay with me are games like Journey, indie games, and stuff like that, that really like leave these stories, these rich stories behind. And so when I built out Vivid, I imagined this place where a creative mind could come and start to formulate the story and world and kind of jump around and start telling these stories. And so that like for a moment, like I said, like, I'm sure there's a rich world in both your minds that I'd love to be in for just a bit, just experience for just a second. And so that was the intention really. And it starts piece by piece. I've also been very entrepreneurial most of my life, so it was a great opportunity for me to, start building something and yeah, I don't know. I think that's the ultimate goal is Vivid will be a place where creative minds come and tell interesting stories that we can all experience.
That's awesome.
Love it.
So, yeah, so I've been using ViViD for a few months now, and the tools on ViViD are very helpful for just generalized world building. So, I wanted to ask specifically, what is your thought process when you are making something for ViViD, like specifically?
Yeah, it's really about that moment of flow, right? So I think when I work in Vivid, even though it's not exactly there yet, I'd love to for it to be like, you're working on a city and you start talking about the mayor or the politics, and then you can start to dig deeper into that and create a card about that. And so Vivid is really just to kind of give the listeners a little bit more of a context. It's based off cards. So imagine you'll have a card for a city or a place or a resource, and you start to form this great like world map sort of thing, this graph where every piece is connected, and it's really satisfying to see it grow.
Yeah.
But also it really what you need to, I guess, think about it is like let your mind kind of jump. A lot of our audience are pretty neurodivergent in different forms, and so myself included. So it's I built it for myself honestly
Yeah.
initially, and I work that way as well. So like I jump from one piece to another, and so that's really the mindset is like with the music, with the theming, with the styling, it's like, how can I like close off your vision where the sides get blurry and then only the screen starts happening and your mind starts getting into that beautiful state where you're just coming up with these incredible things and yeah, and I also want to note that it's like a deeply personal thing. I tried streaming world building and it's really hard, but because you feel the judgment of others, but like
Yeah.
it's a beautiful thing to just like sit alone in somewhere and just let your let your mind follow the tropes and cliches, but like also do the stuff that you really want to explore, and that's kind
Hmm.
of like what Vivid is for. It's that space for you to do that.
That's really cool.
Mhm.
So, sorry, did you want to say something, Chandler?
Also added to that, you also supply like the thing that surprised me, like when I talked to Plutarch, because I was looking to get back into world building. I'm in the process of picking back up an old story and writing a novel. So it's been my lifelong dream to complete one. Uh, so when I picked up Vivid, the first thing I said to you, do you remember?
Yeah, he said you can listen to music, or it was something about Lord of the Rings or something,
Yeah.
and he's like, "Done, sold." So I took a screenshot of it and I put it in the Vivid chat, I think. But
so so like me growing up, that in particular, like just that little bit of being able to, because you hear things, you can like I'm auditory since like I could sit back and like I can imagine a world, like give me Lord of the Rings music, anything by or Pirates of the Caribbean, it doesn't matter. Halo.
mhm.
So if this kind of music is in there, I really did appreciate that little feature in there, because sometimes you can just sit back, helps you relax, helps you flow with the music to find different places of the world that you probably did not know were in your head. So it just, yeah, I really love that little feature, because growing up, when I was a kid, we went out in the woods, and I had a stick or something. I was the weird kid that brought the it's going to sound old, the first not really a Bluetooth speaker, but one like a hardwired speaker to the original iPod, and out in the woods and blared it. And all my friends would be like, "What are you doing? Why are you blaring Hans Zimmerman? You know,
Yeah.
we're a mile and a half in the woods, man. What are you doing?" It's like, it's great, it's great. We're in our anyway.
Yeah.
Old man ramble.
Yeah.
It, I think the Lord of the Rings soundtrack is like that's the perfect. It really does. Like you don't have to be. You'd be walking to work and listen to that thing, and your mind is just flowing off to like
Mhm.
places and stuff. So yeah, absolutely. I'm glad that was helpful. I the one I we got requested a lot about was Frieren. Frieren. It's an anime.
Oh, the anime. I personally haven't seen it, but a lot of my friends watch it.
And that I hadn't watched it myself, but I listened to the music and I was like, "This is great. This is amazing." I'm like, "Great. Well, like let's add that in because it really is a great soundtrack to listen to and like get into this like fantasy medieval kind of vibe." So, yeah,
Is
it
there any
helps.
Studio Ghibli?
There is, yeah, yeah. I love Ghibli movies.
Oh yeah.
It's probably foundational for me. I think Howl's Moving Castle is like
Oh
one of the most
yes.
beautiful movies. So
Personally,
yeah,
I'm favor Spirited Away, but that's just me.
Princess Mononoke
I,
is brilliant.
Yes,
I'm
it
just saying.
is.
But all three of
It's so
these
we need
good.
to
are top three. It's like so hard to pick.
we
Yeah.
need a personality test from which is your favorite Ghibli movie. I'm sure there's like a
Yeah.
BuzzFeed
Oh
I'm
man,
thing,
sure.
but,
Um,
that'd be so
yeah.
hard to
yeah.
pick.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
it
really
is
is.
hard.
I mean, all the Studio Ghibli movies are beautiful. I did want to ask though, speaking of all these worlds that we've created, is there a world that you have created and that you would like to talk about?
So honestly, since creating Vivid, I initially created it to create my own worlds, and
Yeah.
I have to say this last like year or so, I've just been obsessively working, and I haven't really had time to work on my own worlds.
Yeah. I mean, that
Um,
makes sense.
I I I genuinely this goal I've set out is that one day I could use Vivid and use it as like a tool that I can then honestly stop working on Vivid on. So that's been the goal for me is like, can I, because I love the side of production of creating, the game side. When it came to video games, it was like really, I didn't want to stay too much on the tooling side, but um yeah, so like no real world right now for me, but there's a lot of like themes and topics I'd like to explore. I'm a
Yeah.
little bit more on the dark fantasy style, like
Perfect.
I love exploring like I don't know, I think the political state of the world through like through fantasy, through media is like one of the best ways to like I don't know, digest it or
Hmm.
think through it and so yeah, that's probably where I would probably spend a lot of my time after that.
Yeah. Well, then I have a question that just came to my mind. Just talking with you for the past little bit, it seems to me, tell me if I'm wrong, but it seems that you're very focused on like, well, most people we interviewed are very focused on how their world affects others. You seem to be focused more on the solo kind of journey of someone building a world. Um, is that a correct assumption? I'm just based on what you've said so far. I'm just saying like just compared to other guests we've had on, uh you're you talked about like sitting in your room and writing and how that's a beautiful process, and then you talked about how Vivid is supposed to make you like zone in, and yeah, just
That's
is
a
that
really
a
no,
safe
it's a
assumption?
so I'm actually gonna go the other way and here and say like so I have a bit of a controversial take. Whenever someone tells me I'm making art for myself, I don't
Yeah.
believe them. I believe
Oh.
I'm a big believer that we make art to connect with other people,
Yeah.
and that
Yeah, yeah.
oftentimes we don't want to show it or we do it for ourselves because we're scared of like being rejected or for whatever reason like not connecting with someone based on the art that we do, and so we tend to do it for ourselves. But there's a moment I think many of us experience when we do share and our art is appreciated and people do like it that we like it's one of the I think most human experiences that there is and it's the value of art I would say in the long term. So I'm actually a big believer that we should share. Like everything is
Yeah.
fundamentally built around sharing, but sharing when you feel like you want to share. I don't think you should ever be forced to share, but a
Hmm.
big part of what we're exploring at Vivid is communities that are supportive, like and having a community that is supportive that gives feedback to your work or whatever it is that you want, and like is deeply positive because I don't like I that's the part I don't like. I think it's like you post something online and people will bash you, and that's not fun for anyone. I posted it for months, and people would ignore it, say mean things about it and stuff like that, and you have to kind of like get through that, but it's painful. It's even painful today, right? Like it's I and so that's where like I do think we're building Vivid to be shared. But yeah, I don't know. It's at the same time like it's kind of that dig
Yeah,
in and think and then share in
I
after.
see what you're saying. Yeah. It's just interesting to me because we've talked a lot, me and Chandler have, about how world building, the whole reason is to put your experience out there because you want to show the how for me personally, world building is looking at worlds through other people's lenses and seeing like how other people view the world because it's their perceptions and what they see and they're making something based on that. And so I find that that's why like that human connection is we're looking at other people's perceptions. But yeah, I think there is a balance, yeah, between the solo kind of like I think I said in our first episode you don't want to be hunched over like a villain, like typing your evil plans or something.
Yeah, yeah. God,
Um,
what was it?
I don't know. I said something like that and I laughed about it because I laugh at my own jokes because I'm weird. But
And a
Me
goblin
too.
writing novels.
Yeah.
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 But I like that you said that it's a human connection because well, let me ask this. You said that art is one of the uh, correct me, but you said that art is a basic human connection is kind of the vibe, like the line of thinking you were going towards, correct?
Mhm. Yeah, I
Okay,
think
cool.
so. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I have a question based on that. Um, is there a mindset that you have going into creating art or any kind of thing that furthers that human connection? Like, what do you specifically have um when you're creating something, do you specifically have like something you think about or something you kind of set yourself up for in order to further that human connection when you share?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's I obviously like this is just my opinion. I'm not an expert in
Hmm.
this stuff, but as a human being, my
Yeah.
my
I
experience,
mean, that's what this
yeah,
is all about. It's
yeah.
all about our different experiences and stuff. So, I would
Um,
love to hear what you think.
I think that when I think of great art, I think of vulnerability and authenticity. I think those are the two things that really come to me. And I'm like a lot of my favorite directors, really kind of explore that same idea. And I think, yeah, it's really like, can you be authentic to yourself? And we are all kind of, I think, we kind of we shave parts of ourselves away as we show it, but the greatest stuff is the weirdest stuff. It's like the stuff that makes you authentically you, and so that's kind of where I try to be. I try to like really trust myself, and I think even with Vivid, as weird as it sounds, but like I really consider it like art in a sense where I'm like I'm trying to tell a story through this platform, this software, um and there's a lot of moments where I question myself and I say, okay, well, like I just gotta like just gotta trust in yourself, trust in what you think is nice, and build it out. And I think the one thing there though is it's this weird balance between skill and authenticity, where like your skill develops over time, like and there's a great like segment by one of the podcast hosts of This American Life, and he talks about the
Yes,
difference between
yes, yes.
taste and what you're doing, and I really agree with that. Like, what I was making was nowhere near what I wanted to make, but you just
Hmm.
gotta keep going. So, yeah, I don't know. I think vulnerability though, you'll be surprised. Like when you're vulnerable, when you tell something, like when you feel an experience that you think you're alone in, and you share that through whatever medium you want, there's a lot of people that will resonate with that, um, and that's like I don't know. That's the part that's fun, I would say, and that's the part
Yeah.
where the internet is so special, right? Like there's people
Hmm.
millions, like or thousands of miles away, wherever they are, like connecting with something that you wrote in your home, wherever you are, and that's beautiful, I find.
Yeah. I think there's a genuineness too when it comes to writing. Like if you're genuinely writing, like what you said, like vulnerability. I think there's people see that, you know, it's that human connection that I don't know. I just think there's something like within us. Maybe this is a little spiritual, but like there's something like within us when we like see something that is beautiful or created by another human because we something happens in our mind. And there's actually been, I'll go on a science route real quick. There's actually been research done by when someone is audibly telling a story. Anyone who hears the story, their brains all sync up into the same nervous system pattern. I forget what it's called, and I'm really sorry. I'm a biology major. I should know this. um, but there's been
Cool.
research done on that. So I'm like, there's something inherently about creating an art and just making things that, you know, connect us. And I really like what you said about vulnerability as well. I think being vulnerable is very important when it comes to creating.
It's something that we don't notice till it's successful. Like that person was weird until they weren't, you know? And so
Yeah.
that's an important thing to remember. And I think musicians show that show that all the time. I think unfortunately it's like art and creating and working on your passion has, I think today more than ever, blended with like a very like capitalist society that is like, you know, you got to make money from your art.
Hmm.
And that's a tricky piece that like I think a lot of people are just kind of navigating and but yeah, generally like I think that's what it was. It's like you're weird until you're not, and then you realize, yeah, people like what I'm doing, and it's cool.
I think we went, or I forget which episode we discussed it in, but it's almost, I think either Plutarch you said or I said, like you're cutting pieces out of yourself and putting it out there in the world.
Did I say that? I don't
I don't.
remember.
It wasn't verbatim, maybe, but I'm trying. This is serious. Uh,
Yeah.
you're taking pieces of yourself when you create these things and you put it out there,
Mhm.
and you want it to do good. You want it to be recognized. You want it to that affirmation that you genuinely touch someone's life for the betterment when you create this thing, because inside of you it makes a lot of sense. You love it. And then when somebody just throws back, you know, the internet can be great, but the internet can also throw that right back in your face. This is trash. You know, you're trying to be C.S. Lewis, or you're trying to be the next Dune, or you know, something how the internet does, and that hurts. But it's also about committing to that. You have to
Yeah.
put, you got to be vulnerable. That's what it gets back to originally. Yeah.
I think the harsh truth too here, and I say this with love, is like we're all in that journey, and I, for lack of a better word, we're all coping in different ways. So it's
Yeah.
like
Mm.
people will tell you some truth. They'll be like, "Don't worry, don't ever do it. Like, do this." Those with such certainty to their words, and um, but I'm until proven wrong in my own viewpoint. At least I really think it is about that connection piece, and even though rejection stings, like uh, you got to get through it, and there is just something super beautiful on the other side. So it's worth pushing through it in however
Mhm.
small in corner in the world too. I think that's the biggest thing is like it doesn't have to be big. Like it could be to your friends or your family or whomever, or a small Discord community, for example. Like this the stuff you're making is will become special to someone, especially when your authentic self. I think that's the most important part. But yeah.
So you're saying the 5 short stories I found 2 days ago of when I was a teenager, I need to just go ahead and post them?
Yeah. Why not? I
No.
think
No, 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 no.
that's true. Okay, I wouldn't post a lot of the stuff that I've done. I recently started writing. We're working on a writing app and part of ViViD, and I started writing, and I was like, damn, dude, no one can read this. Is so bad. Like, this is like, what am I doing? I really love Joe Abercrombie and the Blade itself. Like, it's like you when you go from reading to like then writing, you're like, man, like, how am I writing that bad? But what
I'm,
you realize is like, yeah, so please, yeah.
yeah, I've been comparing myself to Brandon Sanderson lately, which is just like, you know, not going to happen, but it's like night and day. It's like
Yeah, I used to
I'm not reaching that level.
I think that, but then I used to read when I was a little bit younger, read a lot of these Twine stories, and I absolutely love them. And they're not like written in like some super like beautiful prose or anything like that, but I think there's also a beauty to the nicheness. As like weird as that sounds, is like there's like a niche scenario in my that someone will present to me. Or we were talking about it a little bit earlier, like cozy like
Yeah,
kitchen
yeah, yeah.
fantasy and something like that. That I'm like, honestly, like it kind of sounds interesting. I wanna learn more. And there's yeah, I don't know. There's like I think you'd be surprised sometimes by how I won't say my writing was that bad, but like you could be surprised how good it could be, or especially if it's niche.
Yeah.
Mm,
Well, do you have a favorite niche, maybe, that's like someone's created or a specific trope that you find you relate most to when writing?
That's a good question. I think I'm like a bit of a darker person, so in the sense like
Yeah,
I love like sad endings, or not sad endings, just like bad
interesting.
endings. I'm a
Oh,
bad ending,
like a
you know,
tragedy, kind of,
yeah, like
almost?
exactly, yeah. That like, life exactly. I think that's what it
So
would
are
be
you the
called, yeah.
bad ending on video games? You go directly for the bad ending, like in Baldur's Gate 3, when everyone dies?
I just
No,
finished it.
I stormed through that game like when it first came out.
Yeah.
I couldn't like some of that meme where this like it says like people all the choices you can do. I just can't. They did such great work with the characters. They're
Yeah.
like you don't want to be mean. Like you're like
Yeah,
I like
exactly.
these
That's
people.
how I feel too. I'm too empathetic to pixels,
Yeah.
apparently.
So I admitted on the last episode that I had just started. I got a new PC set up, everything. I built it, so now I could play these newer games. So last episode I admitted it was my first playthrough of Baldur's Gate 3. Yesterday I beat the Elder Brain. So now
Yay.
and I quit after watching all those epilogues and all that, and like I'm in the camp now. So
Oh, yeah. Okay. I won't say anything. I won't say anything.
Yeah.
oh great, okay. So there's more. It's like the never-ending endings of all things.
Yeah. Um, yeah. It's interesting that you like it's an interesting dichotomy that what we're talking about is like sharing and like having all these creating that human connection, and then you're like a tragedy, which I think is actually kind of cool because I feel like there is tragedy in human connection. Like the
Yeah.
more you think about it, like it's like
It is beautiful. It's like I think
yeah.
American media is a little bit like very positive in general,
Mm,
versus like I when you get into. So I've been really on I don't know how to say his name exactly, but Jonas Trier, who worked on Sentimental Value and The Worst Person in the World, is Norwegian director. Really beautiful like life stories. And they
mm,
really like it kind of represents like real life to me. And they don't necessarily like end in a specific way, I won't say, but
mm,
um yeah, I think there's a beauty to it, right? Like that's the beautiful thing. But I do think that like for example, uh fantasy and stuff like that, like it was less explored in that light. And I still think to this day we haven't had, I think Game of Thrones probably the closest to that, but this like darker version of like a fantasy setting or like sci-fi settings, there's definitely examples of them, but like I think we need more. We need even more like
mhm.
like sci-fi tragedies or something. I don't know what
Yeah.
you folks are you guys more happy end, not a happy ending, but like like
I think it
what
depends on the how the story is set up personally for me. Because I love the Alan Wake series and I really like Alan Wake, and the endings are very ambiguous for Alan Wake, and it could be interpreted bad, very bad, maybe okay, and it's definitely not good. But um so I think it depends, like if the story is all about sunshine and rainbows and then all of a sudden at the last second there's a dark storm coming in and then it's not explained or anything, it's just for shock value. I don't enjoy that, but I do enjoy the slow setup to a tragedy, like a slow burn where I want the most pain. Like I don't want a slap to the face, I want a heartburn.
Yeah,
you
that's
know?
exactly it.
I
Yeah,
don't.
it's
I.
it's
Oh,
yeah.
go ahead.
Please go ahead. No,
Oh
no,
no,
sorry.
I was just gonna. I was just gonna
I was
answer.
gonna go ahead.
So the so I don't. So I do like tragedy. I
Yeah.
I like tragedy in a sense that it has to, but I also like happy endings. So I say it this way: the happy ending has to be earned.
Hmm.
Has to be. It cannot be a straight line of just like good things, and then maybe like you see the traditional like in school they teach you about the beginning, the conflict, the resolution here. No, I don't like that. It has to be like this or like something up here, and then for a happy ending to feel happy or satisfied, I think some major tragedy has to occur. There has to be some form of loss within a story
Hmm.
for it to feel genuine. So, kind of hinting on like Game of Thrones minus the last season. I still can't work that out in my head. I don't think anybody can. They're going to be writing
Yeah,
studies about that for decades. But
it's it's a great example of like I know like Game of Thrones is probably one of the greatest examples of world building ever like created in
Hmm.
terms of like a rich world that obviously leans a lot on like medieval Europe, but as well as like has built up these things, these like characters, these places, etc. And like I think more than anything in like fantasy and sci-fi and just generally like that's where world building can be such a big piece. Where like I try to think of an example, but like some way, something is happening that does not make sense in our world, but like you feel it so deeply because the world building was done so well. Like it all
Hmm.
suddenly makes sense. But like as soon as they break you out of that immersion, um, like that's when things get a little like I think Game of Thrones, like as an analogy, the dragon just going in burning everything is like if that was possible for a long time, like what are we doing? Like what was that? What was
Like, why
that,
did why
man?
didn't it already
Yeah.
happen? Like, you know?
yeah, it's just like
Yeah.
it, so now she goes crazy. Let's just not get into it. Like
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
it's just like
yeah,
if it's tragedy, it also has to make sense. The tragedy has to. You can't just have like literally all of a sudden now the dragon is going to just burn everything, or
Yeah.
we're just going
mhm.
to like the woman that you've hated for 8 seasons now. We're just going to bury her under a pile of rocks. There,
Yeah, and then that's it. Yeah, it really does. It has a huge like effect. Like the when I think of Joe Abercrombie's books and like how they're kind of grimdark kind of style books,
Hmm.
it's really about that evolution of characters and like how it works for it to actually work. Because it just if like we know person is bad and we know this person is good, and like without I'd argue he has one of the most interesting characters ever, I think, at least in my opinion, ever written in fantasy. Like that is so ambiguously good or bad that like and yet likable. So it's like I really love like those kind of that kind of writing, and so yeah, I don't know.
Hmm.
It's really cool to read those. I recommend that series quite a bit.
what's the name again?
That's cool. Yeah.
The Blade Itself by Joe Abercrombie.
It's, I'll have
Yeah.
to check it out.
Mhm.
Um, so you mentioned earlier something about like American media is like being like overly positive. Is there like I'm not gonna say like cultural, like maybe like a different kind of cultural media that you find yourself gravitating towards? I know we mentioned Norwegian, Alan Wake is Swedish, all these, and I agree with you that American media can be overly positive. So I also find myself gravitating to foreign cultures when it comes to certain stories. But is there a specific like culture that you find yourself gravitating towards when it comes to tropes and how they specifically have set up stories, like in folk tales and like
It's a good
traditional
question.
stories?
Yeah, that's a good question. I do want to say I do think like American directors and specifically and storytellers in general throughout media are doing that as well now more and
Yeah,
more, and I think
I
it's becoming
agree.
more
I'm just
popular.
yeah.
But you're right. Like in terms of just like why I say that is because I think I honestly I'm still someone that gravitates a lot towards American media
Mm,
as well. So like I
yeah.
really still like the American like I
Well,
think
yeah.
I have less of a like I couldn't point to you to one specific
Mhm.
um, I mean, Korean film is one of those like that's
Yeah.
incredibly good. Folks that I mean, of course, Parasite, but also like No Other Choice
Mhm.
and stuff like that are really big, like great movies that explore darker things, right?
Mhm.
As well as Taiwan has a rich film. So if you guys can't tell, like film is a big piece for me.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but Taiwan has a great film scene as well.
Okay.
So yeah, there's a lot of great. I think I when it comes to those, I gravitate to more slice of life, like
Interesting.
media. I
That's
think
cool.
Americans are the goats at like big picture, like they it's like
Yeah,
like
like
that.
blown out of proportion almost, like it's like larger than life
Michael
considering.
Bay.
And I'm a huge fan
Yeah,
of Marvel and Star Wars. Like I was the girl who read all the comic books. I was raised on Star Wars. I literally watched Darth Maul this morning with my brother. So I'm not saying
nice.
none of those things are bad. I love them very dearly, but there is a different kind of writing that the like slice of life that you were talking about um that kind of, if done right, like any kind of writing, if it's done right, hits more in our human side, which we were talking about earlier, and how that human connection is what kind of what we're all looking for in sense of creating things.
S- So just to tie back a little bit to like the initial mission with Vivid is like I do believe there's this beautiful world that where if we give people the right tools to tell stories that don't need to be huge or monetized, or they can make money from a few people that have supported them, that there's just going to be this explosion of just like, for example, how cool would it be like to have slice of life fantasy or sci-fi that is done really well and that can get me immersed into this world and tell that story. And it feels like these things don't really exist as much just because it is genuinely like harder to like write that kind of
Yeah,
stuff and get it to become big, right? And to make
monetization
monetary
and
say
Mhm.
yeah,
exactly,
all
yeah.
that stuff.
Yeah, but I like I would eat that stuff up. I think it would be great to see that kind of like to see all the cool. I'm sure someone is doing could do some cool stuff there. So
Yeah, I mean, I am a lore fiend. When I play D&D, I'm like or like any other TTRPG, I'm like, I want to know specifically about what this person's doing, why they do this, and like I want to know their time, I want to know the schedule, I want to know why they ate this kind of bread that's special. And so I eat that stuff up, like this, like the little things, that make the worlds seem, I don't want to say real, but they make this world seem actualized, like they're like thought through, and that all these little things kind of build together, and then you kind of get the bigger picture. But I don't know, I think it's like a puzzle piece, like going off a little off track, but there's all these tiny puzzle pieces, and if you just examine one puzzle piece, it's interesting to look at, like a one puzzle piece is interesting to look at, but if you fit it in with the rest, you get a beautiful picture. But all
it's
the
not
puzzle pieces are just as important. So,
Mhm.
you know.
something that's fun to think about. Not fun, but I'd say is like something to think about. And I've been thinking a lot about this. Is like people who are listening to this, us right now, we're on the same wavelength, but
Mhm.
that's not the rest of like the world. Like I'm, we've all probably experienced that where we brought a friend to play D&D or whatever it might be, whatever tabletop game, and like they just don't, they can't, they're not getting it, like they're like, what's the feel? Like, what do you mean I can do anything? Like,
That, murder
have you,
hobos.
yeah, that, yeah, yeah, exactly. That's what it usually ends
I
up
could
in.
do
Yeah.
anything. Yeah,
Yeah.
eh, try it.
I mean, you can certainly
You
try, to quote
certainly
Matthew
try.
Mercer.
Yeah,
And
it's like it really like it's an instant connection when you meet someone that also thinks that way and they have that imagination. It's initial, why Vivid is called Vivid is because that vivid imagination that's able to
Hmm.
like, you can see almost a picture of a place. And I think that's something I love. I love that about our audience. Like it's like everyone I meet, I'm like, oh yeah, dude, we're on the same page right away. We get excited about like the like nerdiest stuff. Like, oh, then you start
Yeah,
explaining to me stuff, and I'm like, oh, okay, dude, you need to send me like something about this is really cool.
yeah.
So
I
it's
mean,
really
that's why
fun.
the whole reason why we started this podcast was for people to rant about their worlds and ramble about like what they love and what they've created. But it's cool to talk about like the not necessarily the technical stuff, but almost like the psychological kind of like why we create. And I feel like we've kind of hit that here on this episode, talking with you and how you've set up Vivid and just your philosophy behind things.
Yeah, it's a whole like it gets I do get it. I tend to lean that way a little bit philosophical with a lot
Hmm.
of my work.
Yeah.
But it is fun. It kind of cuts to the very human side of and we can connect with people really quickly when we start getting
Mm.
into that. But yeah, cool.
You said like dark stuff is kind of like how you dark and like is gritty the right term, or is it more tragedy, like elegant tragedy? I don't know. Like what do you prefer, gritty or elegant tragedy?
I think elegant tragedy is probably
Elegant
more,
tragedy. Yeah.
yeah.
So
Shakespeare.
then Shakespeare. I find Shakespeare's tragedies to be comedies, but that's just me. But is there, we talked about Game of Thrones, but like just growing up, is there something that you specifically look to for inspiration, or something else that someone's created that no one knows about? Is there something that you find that you take
Mm.
a lot of inspiration from, specifically when it comes to like world building and yeah, like I know we've already kind of answered this and you probably can't give like a specific answer, but like
That's
fandoms. Like I just want to know what fandoms you're in, basically is what I'm asking.
that's a good. I'm pulling up my Steam because I'm like I gotta remember.
Excellent.
Yeah, I'm like where what have I played in the last like long
uh
time? Um,
Excellent. I
I
love that.
so I think for specifically for niche stuff,
Yeah.
that's a good question. I so first games that like so my career started initially in game development, right? So I was
Yeah.
really like into like I still want to make games eventually, but that's kind of the idea where it was. And I'd say there like a bit cliche is like Fallout 3 was a big one for me. Came like it was right at the time when like Fallout 3, Skyrim, those two games go kind of
Yeah.
like I feel like inspired a generation um
Yes.
with what with what's possible. I don't know why, like this moment in Fallout 3 stuck with me where like they spoilers for those who just Fallout 3, but it's like
It's been
they
10, 15 years,
they
I bet.
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
fine.
yeah, it's been a long time, that's true. They start off with like a little poem about with I think it's a verse, maybe it's a Bible verse, I'm not exactly sure. But that becoming the password for saving, like your dad who disappeared, say like that's the password for, turning on the machine or something like that. Is
Mhm.
like, I don't know, I just love that like I had played this whole game and it all kind of tied together kind of in a knot. So those little moments, I think it comes down to, and you guys might feel that way are you guys both DMs, would you say? Like your
Yeah.
GMs? Yeah.
I can't
Um,
be anything but the DM
yeah, yeah,
because
exactly.
my sickness for wanting to know everything that's going on cannot allow me to
Chandler
be a
has a
player.
complex.
I
Yeah.
can't.
He has a forever GM complex.
There, I think then you guys will resonate when I say like that moment when you like your players are just having so much fun. So
Yeah.
much fun is like one of the most beautiful moments that of like DMing where you're like, I've truly like done something great. And that's kind of the beautiful moment.
And
Yeah, I don't know.
yeah, and speaking of GMing, like I agree wholeheartedly because GMing I feel like is not about how good of a story you tell or how good of mechanics you create. It's about whether you and your friends are having fun because at the end of the day, it's a game about a story. And yeah, it can't be exactly perfect, but as long as you love it and your friends love it, you're golden. Like I like I find it really hard to criticize actual plays online because a lot of people like criticize a lot of actual plays, like specifically Critical Role, Dimension 20, like the big ones. But even the little ones, like that don't have as much of like a following, people criticize them, and I'm like, as long as they're having fun, like who cares about the certain mechanics or like the certain storytelling decision? Like who cares? Like who cares? They're having fun. They're telling a story, and the whole point of I feel like a game like that is to create that human connection. And as long as that human connection is being created, then what
Yeah.
that's you're done. That's you won. People ask me all the time, "How do you win Dungeons and Dragons?" And I'm like, "You have fun?" I don't know.
That's how you win.
That's how you win.
It's for I think for GMs how we win is just like exactly it's a they had fun, our players had fun. I think that's I do think that's just like the same thing as making art, right? It is art.
Yeah.
It's like you're making art, you're creating this scenario. It's one of the beauties of video games when you see players like play out your games. It's one of the beauties of software, right? Like seeing ViViD grow right now and seeing people like almost I think we're at almost 180,000 people who've tried
Woo
ViViD.
woo.
It's it's been quite the ride. Like I love it's the most fulfilling thing to have people be like, oh, like this has been helping me so much in writing and or
Mhm.
students like reaching out to me directly being like, I really want to use this for this video game. And it's like
It's so cool.
so that's been I think that's the moment. I love that. Anyway, so that's video games was that for me. I realized like I was like, I know I need to do that for other people
Yeah.
in some shape or form. And I think a lot of us in our jobs, unfortunately, like it just kind of we don't get to do that. We get to do that little piece that eventually maybe we'll go out and do that, but like we don't see the like happiness we've caused in the world, especially if we're working on something like deep in the like a
Yeah.
pipeline of stuff. But that's one of the most beautiful things about like working on Vivid as well is like is seeing that right now.
You talk about the video games as well. I just remembered we've asked this question before. I believe I have. So my catalyst for desiring fantasy and desiring story and everything came from a video game, and actually, it's from that game is actually where I got my handle or my tag right here, Narrowin, Ocarina of Time in 1998 Zelda. I was there. I was a kid. I played it. So from then on, just loved anything to do with storytelling. Or so I'm glad I got that experience like when it was new. So what was yours? Something tells me it may have been a video game that started this journey of wanting to tell stories or anything else. So what game was that?
Yeah, I think I want to say, I've been playing video games for so long. Like I'm like I was more PS1 generation, so like started there and then PS2, PS3. Um I mean, Metal Gear Solid was crazy. I don't know like, when you put your controller on the floor and then you're like, whoa, it's like the guy's controlling it with his mind, Psycho Mantis. You're like, it's like these moments stay with you.
Yeah.
Um, so Metal Gear Solid was a big one. Honestly, I think it's like probably Skyrim, Fallout
Mhm.
New Vegas, which is so good as well. Nice, yeah. I
I
never,
That's
Zelda. I love it. Yeah,
that's so cool. That's cool.
yeah.
I love
That's
that
it.
game.
Is it.
For anybody that
Yeah,
can't see it, I have Ocarina of Time still in factory wrap in a case on the screen right now. So,
very cool.
so I love that game a lot.
It really it affects you. I think I don't know if you guys have felt that though, like when you're like you see it, you consume something incredibly good, and then you're like, I need
Yeah.
to go out and do it. I need to go build something or create something. And
Yeah.
that was like if you go, it's a little bit of a less maintained page, but the why page, like why Vivid was built, was
Mhm.
specifically that. It's like the idea to capture when you're feeling inspired and you're like, um I think recently it was Andor season 2 that like a
Yeah.
little while it was so good. It was
It's
like it
so
was
good.
incredible.
It's
Incredible.
incredible.
Yeah, the
Jinx.
music, the the music, the costumes, the visuals were just so good. And so I was like,
Stunning.
I want to like tell small stories in those places, and that would be really cool to do.
Yeah.
More features of that, more stuff coming from that for Vivid. I won't share too much, but
Yay.
like some cool stuff coming on that front.
I'm excited.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I
Exclusive.
think we are getting close to our end. So I'm gonna ask one more question. And this is kind of like for specifically the Vivid people on Vivid, this is a chance for you to shout them out. Do you have a favorite world someone's created that you've seen in the Discord or in the Vivid Discord, or like you've seen being created using your program and your software?
There's been many. We we there's been many at least off on the Discord as well.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if there's one. Honestly, I don't want to be. I haven't honestly dug in for a little while. It's been Discord
Yeah.
has been I've been
Which
very
child
heads
is
Discord.
your
down.
favorite?
Yeah, which
Yeah,
you can say like vaguely multiple if you want. You don't have to just pick
I
one.
love them all.
I love them all. I'm
I
just
mean,
curious.
I do like Dunk from Plutarch's World.
Yeah, oh, thank
There
you.
you go.
Thank you, my little frog
Um,
man. Thank you.
we are working with a couple folks on like early versions of our writing tool, and so
Hmm.
Alex is doing some really cool stuff. Alex,
Yeah,
who I don't know what his online name is, but
it's Alex.
um, okay, there you go. Um, so he's doing some pretty cool stuff. I think a lot of folks are doing some really interesting stuff. I will say. an interesting stat, I've been digging through the stats in Vivid, is
Yeah.
like I'd say majority of the world still are still like not public. So people haven't
Yeah.
published their wikis and stuff like that. And obviously like we never look through those unless like
Mhm.
someone has an issue and they allow us. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like
I knew that was
a
gonna be
bit
the answer.
yeah,
I knew
it's
it.
like
I just wanted to poke and prod.
See if you could trip him
yeah,
up.
no, it's like
Like,
yeah.
oh, I
Sorry
really
about
love.
that.
Ooh.
Yes, so I think as writing comes out, I will get
Mhm.
much more into our community's worlds because I think
Yeah.
I consume writing content a lot better than like say like a wiki or like something like
Yeah.
that. So I
Mhm.
think that'll be a big piece of like, when I'll have a better answer for that. And I'll
Okay.
be brutal.
Excellent.
I'll be brutal. I
Okay,
will
cool.
say if something is good or bad, and I'll be like,
Excellent. We need a
I won't say
critical
bad.
judge.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
the
yeah.
follow up is going to be, what's the worst one you've
I
seen?
know.
Yeah.
What's the
Dude,
worst one?
I've seen some bad ones. I've seen some bad ones. I'll tell you that. I'll be honest. The bad ones. It's just like they're like usually full of like random like I don't know, just like a random set of things that don't really make sense together, and like they're I don't know, or they have like two lines or something, um, or they just like I won't say that I'd say that they're weird, but like in a different kind of way. So it's like
Self-indulgent, maybe, is the correct
yeah,
term.
Full of Mary
Self-indulgent.
Sues and
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah,
Re-
fandoms get out there. I feel like it does
Phantoms
get
get out there.
it gets it gets out there, but I think that's just the beauty of the internet as well though. It's like I don't
Mhm.
understand it, but it's okay. I don't need to. It's like
Yeah, exactly. As long as
as
they're
long as you're
having
not
fun.
hurting. Yeah, you're having
Yeah.
fun. I'm not gonna,
what do you mean you don't like my Little Pony Dune crossover? What are you
Yeah,
talking
yeah.
about? It's so in depth.
Do you know there's a My Little Pony TTRPG that I need to play, like
I was
personally? I'm trying to convince my best friend to play it for her birthday. I'd be like
I'd be
we're
down
going.
for it actually.
That is the least surprising thing. I feel like
I know.
I do
Like I don't
it
know.
has to be. Yeah.
There's so much stuff out there right now. But anyway, we are wrapping up. If you want to plug yourself once again, be go more into detail about where people can find you and just shout, this is your chance to shout out anything you want to shout out. Go.
Yeah, I guess the biggest thing and the most important thing for us is making Vivid better. So Vivid is completely free to start with. You don't have to put in a credit card or anything like that. So you just go to vvd.world and then you get started and you just build out your world. And when once you hit the limits, which are about 20 cards, you can start paying, and they're pretty generous limits at that point. You have no issues. But yeah, that's mainly it. You can check us out on vvd.worldbuilding. Shout out to like Felicia, who's doing an incredible job
Shout out to Felicia.
On our socials, and shout out to Maggie and Harlan, who are also hugely helpful on the support front and managing the Discord and all that stuff. So I love them, and I love all these. One of the most beautiful things about starting Vivid has been the people. Like it was really lonely. I sat in my room for like
Yeah,
alone for let's say like 9-10 months until like this beautiful community has been built up, and it's super
it's been
cool to
so
meet
cool.
yourself, and
Yeah.
I feel like you've seen it kind of evolve over the
Yeah, I
little
mean,
while.
I joined when it was like 400 and then
Nice.
I joined the Discord when it was 400 and then I kid you not, a week later I think it hit 2000 like within like a span of like 2 weeks. I That was like last fall or something. It was crazy. I remember you messaging me like kind of panicked being like, "Do you want to be a moderator?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, why not?"
You instantly gave me good vibes. I was like, all right, I
Oh,
trust
thank
this
you.
person. I was like,
I
all right,
try
I
to put
trust this
out good
person.
I try to put
Yeah.
out good vibes.
No, you did. And I was
Okay.
like, I don't know, you gave like a trustworthy. You can just
Aw.
tell. I don't know what it is. Like, at least I've been on the internet for a while now, and
I'm
I'm
just
like, this
enchanting.
person. Yeah, there you go. There you go.
I just
But yeah,
anyway.
shout out to yourself. Seriously, thank you and all the helpers as well
Yeah.
on the Discord are doing so much work.
Yeah.
Like, thank you
Shout
so
out to
much.
the mods.
Yeah, and some cool merch coming eventually to all the other
Ooh,
folks.
yay! I see the hat you're wearing.
I wear
That's
it's that's one of the things, but some even cooler
yeah,
stuff, I think. Yeah. But
awesome.
yeah.
I'm super excited. But anyway, thank you so much for coming on our podcast. It has been such a pleasure. And is there any final words that you would like to say before we end Playing with Ink episode 9, I think?
Yep.
Okay,
I want to
cool.
If I'm
say
wrong,
thank you to
you'll tell us.
yeah.
Yep. Oh, go ahead.
I want to say thank you to you and Chandler for having me. Thank you so much. It's been super fun.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Well, this has been Playing with Ink, and we will see you next time.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.